Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Into the Pit. And I have here Mr. C. Wayne, and it's Totherow?
Totherow.
Totherow. Okay, we'll make sure I got that right. And he does a Bigfoot cryptid podcast. And are you a Bigfoot hunter?
Yeah, I formed a small Sasquatch investigation group about 3 years ago now here in the Southeast United States. I'm actually located in Tennessee, but yeah, okay. I have a group and we do go out and do some investigations.
All right. And well, just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
All right. Like I said, I live in Tennessee, Southeast Tennessee. Not real far from the Great Smoky Mountains. Been interested in cryptids pretty much my whole life. And, the big boy and, the daddy of cryptids is Bigfoot. Now, I've always had just a love for it, for the topic, the subject matter, and just really, really interested. Like everybody, I always thought that it was more of a Pacific Northwest area out there. And didn't think I'd ever really have a chance to do a whole lot with it. And then the more I started listening and looking into it, these things are everywhere. There, I believe, 49 of the 50 states, there have been reports in that one lone state being Hawaii. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's reports that Bigfoot can swim, but I don't think they want to swim all the way out there.
Exactly. Do you have your own kind of theories about Bigfoot?
I do. Yeah. When we first started, I'll just give you one real quick. I'm under the camp of the biological, on the more biological side. You have what's called in the Bigfoot community, you have the scientific community, and then you have what's called the woo. And the woo, for those of you that don't know, that's more of the telepathy, the mind speak, the cloaking, the Bigfoot is an alien. There are people out there, and it's pretty much split down the middle of what you get, mm-hmm. What people think. And I've always been a firm believer of Bigfoot it's just an animal. It's another species of animal, another one of God's creations that we just haven't caught up to yet. Mm-hmm. And there's more than enough evidence out there to support an unknown primate in North America. There really is. If it was a court case, there's enough circumstantial evidence to convict Bigfoot, of murder. But yeah, I mean, we over the years, not counting all of the eyewitnesses, all the eyewitness reports and things like that, we have been able to find hair. I myself have found some hair in the woods that I'm actually getting tested. We have found blood samples, DNA. There's more than enough evidence to support that there's something out there.
Now, what about its stealthiness? And this is just, I don't know, kind of like that instinct to get away, or is there something to it blending in with its surroundings?
Yeah, they definitely, I feel like, are on a completely different level from most other animals. They do have that ability to stay hidden. Obviously, it's been so long, and we still don't have a specimen, so they know what they're doing. And one of the thoughts in the Bigfoot community is they have kind of like a transparent, translucent hair. And I've noticed that with the hair sample that I found, you can hold it up to the light and you can almost see through it. It kind of blends in with whatever you're looking at behind it. So if they have an entire body of this hair that kind of blends in to the surrounding, to their surroundings, I mean, yeah, it's be very easy to stay hidden.
I've watched that show, Expedition Bigfoot, mm-hmm. And they were out searching for it, but they had come up with all kinds of different theories, ideas. Like one of the things people say is, well, how come we haven't found their bones? And they seem to believe that they're smart enough to go and actually bury them in the river. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's another one of the really big questions, the big arguments in the community here. I'm on the camp of they bury their dead. I really believe that that they're so much like us that they bury their dead when they lose them, and I have heard the argument that if one gets injured or if they know it's sick or something like that, they retreat to, to their home, their surroundings, and we can't find their home. So if they retreat to where they're living and die, we're not going to find them anyway.
Are we getting any closer to actually proving that they're real?
I believe the government knows. Most people that follow the subject would agree with me that the government knows. They have specimens. I truly believe that. You hear stories about people having encounters or getting. There's several stories of people shooting a Bigfoot and or finding a dead body, and the government coming in and it disappearing. You can't validate stuff like that. You just can't. But is everyone lying? I mean, I don't think so.
Well, this particular season of Expedition Bigfoot, there was an area that they'd found a bunch of evidence in, and then all of a sudden the government came in, bought up the land, blocked it off. You can go to prison for trespassing there, that kind of thing. Are you finding that over there in Tennessee?
Well, I'll share a real quick story if you don't mind.
Sure, go for it.
My group, my foundation is called Mannimal Research. I have a YouTube channel, a Facebook group. So if you guys want to go check that out, and that's Mannimal with 2 N's, so it's Mannimal. So check that out if you don't mind. And I actually have a video of the story that I'm about to tell you. My group, we put together an expedition in the Blue Ridge Mountains. That's in North Georgia, about an hour and a half drive south of me. And it was a good size expedition. There was about 10 or 12 of us. Couple of women, mostly men, and my son was there. And then there was a younger boy that was there too. And we went deep into the Blue Ridge Mountains. And we're getting there. We're set up, got camp set up and everything. It was going to be a 2-day expedition. And we're walking through the woods. And when all of a sudden we start hearing this just rapid gunfire, just ARs, machine guns, and all this stuff. And think, man, there's either a military exercise going on or there's a redneck out here with a lot of money. He's having a good time in the woods. Come to find out, one of the guys in our group was ex-military, and they do training in that area. So we played it off as that's what was going on. So we finished our walk, got back to camp, and it's just getting dusky dark. And a Humvee comes pulling up on us, and then a second Humvee behind it. This young man gets out in his early to mid-20s, I'd say, extremely polite, personal, just well-spoken, classic military man, just very polite. He gets out, introduces himself. We're doing a military training. We've got guys in the woods. 30 minutes, 45 at the most, will be out of your hair. If they do their job, you'll never even know they're here. We'll pack up and we'll be on. Just wanted to let you know what was going on. So we talked to him a few minutes. Yeah, we heard the gunfire and all that stuff. Figured that's what it was. And my buddy, bless his heart, he is the vice president of Mannimal Research, a really good friend of mine. He decides to step up and put his foot in his mouth.
Oh, no.
He's we'll just go ahead and tell you what we're doing here and ask you if you'd ever seen anything up here. We're on a Bigfoot expedition. Have you ever seen any evidence or anything like that up here? And I'm telling you, I can't describe it. I mean, you would just have to see the expression on this kid's face, this man's face, went from polite and well-spoken to just his whole demeanor changed. He was matter of fact. The conversation was cut off. He said, nope, nothing like that. Never heard anything like that. Ended the conversation, walked back over to the other Humvee where he had told us that his commanding officer was. They had a conversation, and I kid you not, they went from 30 to 45 minutes will be out of your hair till they started gathering firewood, and they stayed there the rest of the night.
Oh no.
50 feet away from us, 2 Humvees stayed. Not the whole group didn't stay. There was about 10 or 12 of them. They got out. They didn't have tents. They didn't have anything. They just set chairs up, built a fire, and sat around just shooting the breeze for the rest of the night.
Oh, well, that's kind of curious.
It is. It is. And I told that story to another Bigfoot or a cryptozoologist that I had on my show on Animal Research. And about a month or so after it happened, and I have pictures, on the Facebook and on YouTube to show the Humvees, the military guys, and stuff like that. But I told it to a guest on my show and explained to him what happened. And he told me a story live on our show that he interviewed a guy years ago that was ex-military that did his training in North Georgia. And he told him that when he got there and they got ready to go out into the fields, they all received these field manuals. And inside the field manual is what to do if you encounter a Sasquatch.
Did he say what?
No, it's third hand. I wasn't talking to the guy. I was talking to the guy who was talking to the guy. So he didn't give me any more details than that. But isn't that pretty curious?
I would say, because I've heard the same thing about UFOs. What does our government know, and how much are they covering up? I don't know what's the purpose of covering it up anyway.
There's so many theories out there. I just don't know. Other than I really think it would devastate the recreation industry, maybe the state parks, stuff like that. People would be more afraid to go out and spend that money on camping equipment and hiking equipment. And maybe that has something to do with it. It's a money thing. It seems like everything comes back to money. Others say that if we find out what these things are, that it may rewrite the evolutionary history, that there's a lot of people that believe that these things have human DNA in them. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
Well, I mean, the whole thing about UFOs, they finally disclosed that, yes, there are UFOs out there. Now, they weren't very specific about them, but they just said, yes, there are unidentified flying objects out there, or whatever they're calling them nowadays.
Yeah.
So do you think it's going to take a group of y'all petitioning the government to finally get this information, or do you think they're just going to poo-poo the whole thing?
It's going to take a body. Somebody's going to have to produce a body, which I feel like has happened, and the government stepped in and seized it. But it's going to take someone killing one or finding a dead body and going through the proper channels to eliminate any kind of government interference. However, whatever that's going to take, I don't know. And that's another hot topic in the community. You're either kill or you're no kill. I believe I'm a no kill. I'm never going to set up a mission or an expedition to go out there and bring in a dead one. It's not, what we're about in my group. But I say that to say this: every time I'm in the woods, I'm armed. My team, we won't go out in the woods unless we're armed. And that's not with the purpose to go out there and bring in a body. As I said, there's things out in the woods that can take you down. Oh, yeah. If it's not a Bigfoot, there's black bear around here, mountain lions, things like that. There's things out there that can hurt you. And a ticked off Bigfoot is one of those things. And if one's coming at me, I'm going to unload. And I am. I mean, if it comes between me and him, it's definitely, I'm going to do my best to make it him. But I'm never going to go out with that mission to go out and kill one and bring it in. But there are groups, and it's really, really controversial, that they go out fully strapped and loaded, and their goal is to bring in a body and put this thing to bed once and for all.
Well, the curious thing is how's law enforcement going to treat that? Is it going to be considered an animal, or is it going to be considered another form of man? So is this going to be a murder charge or poaching charge?
Are you familiar at all with Melba Ketchum and her study?
No.
Melba Ketchum, and I'm not as well versed in it as some, but I can give you the generals. Melba Ketchum is a very, very successful. She's a doctor. She's a PhD. I'm not sure what her area of expertise is. I believe it's veterinary medicine, but I don't know. She's been called to testify many, many, many times as an expert witness, and you know that to be able to do that, you have to be on top of your game. You have to be the best of the best for courts to bring you in. She's been brought in several times. Well, she's a believer in Sasquatch, and she did this study with all these different samples of supposed Sasquatch DNA, blood samples, I believe, scat samples, just hair, different kinds. It took, again, I hate to give numbers, but I think it took over a year, a couple of years maybe to complete this study, and there were several people involved. And what she released was the mitochondrial DNA from these specimens came back human. The paternal DNA from the father came back as unknown. So these things are half human from the mother side, and we don't know, some type of primate from the male. Well, when this was released, this woman got crucified. She got just massacred. Her career has been all but ruined. She won't do interviews. She won't talk about it anymore. And it's all because of this. And I think that it was the government stepping in to do it. I think they ruined her because she stepped out, did what she felt was right. And I applaud her. I have nothing but respect for the lady. I've never met her, never spoken to her. I know people that have. But what she did took some guts, and it was extremely interesting. And the critics say that there was the reason there was human DNA was it was a human flaw and stuff. This woman knows her stuff. She knows what she's doing. She has been taking samples and processing them for years. She knows it well enough not to get cross-contamination.
It I guess begs the question, what do we classify this as? You say it's got, human DNA. Well, then it should be another human.
Yeah, that's what people will say. A lot of people will argue, and intelligent, well-spoken people will argue that this is just another branch. This could be just another branch of humans that just broke off and went its own way. You hear stories. I've interviewed people and I've listened to different podcasts and shows where eyewitnesses have come on, hunters, men that have hunted their entire life and had one of these things in their crosshairs, looking it in the eye and could not pull the trigger. Would not pull the trigger. And you ask them why, and they say, because I feel like I would be murdering someone. It looks too human.
Yeah.
It's too close. It's too close to a man for me to sit there and shoot it. I couldn't live with myself. I think that speaks volumes.
Now, do you get ridiculed for what you do?
I mean, I certainly have, but it's not to the level that it was 20 or 30 years ago. It's really, really been, pop culture has really embraced the whole Bigfoot thing, and it's become taking on a life of its own. So it's not like it was years ago. You definitely get questions.
Well, I know as a paranormal investigator myself, I've noticed that the thought of ghosts and spirits, they're being more accepted. And there's a paranormal group. You toss stone, you're going to hit a paranormal group, I think.
Yeah.
And so, but the equipment and the evidence that we've gotten over the years definitely proves more unlikely it is than it's not. And I'm a layman when it comes to cryptids, so I'm just learning. I want to get more involved in it, and I do have a friend who is that's what he does. He went from looking for ghosts to looking for cryptids, and so I think the technology there is probably going to have to get a little bit better and a little bit better, maybe before it's more accepted. But I'm definitely seeing more curiosity in it now than I have before. We went on up when I was a kid. The show was In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy. There was talk about Bigfoot, and of course they show that same footage of what looks to be a Bigfoot running across the field, and I don't know, man. What are the advances in the technology in searching for these things?
You're absolutely right. You hit it on the head. With the advancement in technology to helping to further it and everything, because everywhere you go in the woods, there's trail cams now.
Mm-hmm.
You got to think there's trail cams everywhere. These hunters are very, very sophisticated, stepping up their game, taking every advantage that they can. Everybody's got a very high quality camera in their pocket that also makes phone calls. Everyone has a camera on them now. So the evidence, I mean, there's going to be a lot more, just because of that. But thermal technology is huge. I've seen one Bigfoot since I've been doing this, and I captured it on thermal, with my thermal imaging. I still have not had my Class A daytime sighting where I can tell you exactly what it looked like, what color the hair was, and all that stuff. But we did have one about 60 feet away, what we believe was a mama and a little one that stood there watching us up in North Georgia, actually. But yeah, we would have never known it was there if it had not been for the technology of thermal imaging.
I'm going to plug one of my shows here, but did you see the episode that I just put up with Todd Nees and Adam Porter?
No, I didn't. I know Todd.
Okay, well, we looked at some evidence that Adam got caught on his dash cam, and he has the infrared on his dash cam, and I thought it was a ghost. But you see something running towards his car on the side of the road, and you actually see a blur, and it blocks it out. And he said it was pretty huge, and the comparison of everything around it, it does look pretty huge. It's got a long stride to it, and it's going pretty fast, but it's like blends in with the night. It's crazy.
Now, Adam Porter, the name's not ringing a bell. Was he a police officer, and did this happen in North Georgia?
No. Adam actually lives here in the Houston area. Well, I'm in the Austin area. He lives in the Houston area.
Okay.
He's a friend of mine. He was on the same ghost hunting team that my wife was on, and that's how we met. And he went from chasing ghosts to chasing cryptids. And he had just left our house, and that night is when he caught the footage.
Really?
And he sends me a message and tells me, "Hey man, I caught a Bigfoot on the way home." And of course, I'm like, this guy's a joker, it's full of baloney. Then he sent it to me, and I looked at it, and it made me look a couple of times. I say, the way it blended in with the background, and it was kind of blurry, but you could see it was the figure of a manly type figure. I thought it was a ghost, but he seems to think that it was a Bigfoot, and that they believe in that translucent hairs or whatever that's able to, I don't know, reflect light. I don't know how that works, but I don't know, man. You have to check it out. You have to see it tell me what you think.
I was about to ask where I could find it. Maybe you can send me a link to it.
I'll do that.
It's pretty recent.
Yes, it was back in March, I believe, when he caught it.
Wow. Yeah, that's new to me. I can't wait to see that.
But oh man, what do you think about that? I mean, without seeing it.
There's something about roadside crossings. We did I'm gonna plug my other show if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I just launched. I've taken time away from our YouTube channel, Mannimal Research, for me and my buddy Jameson Duffy, Mr. Duffy. We've just launched a podcast called UnsCryptid, and we're about 15 or 16 episodes in. And one of the episodes that we did early on, like maybe 4 or 5 or 6, was giving research techniques, because Mr. Duffy has been looking into this longer than I have. He lives in Denver. Has gotten some awesome stuff. Great pictures, track cast, stuff like that. But one of the episodes that we did was recommendations on how to collect evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first one that I mentioned was dash cams. It's a pretty inexpensive way to get into doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Get a decent dash cam for $100 on Amazon. I mean, even cheaper. And you just stick it up there and you ride around in these roads, these areas where it's been reported. And man, there's something, to kind of answer your question, there's something about these roadside crossings. It's almost like they want to be seen. These things have eluded us for how long? How many hundreds of years? They can go hidden from us without any problem. But you put us in a car and all of a sudden they're dumb.
Right.
I mean, it's almost like they're standing by the road, they're hearing a car, and they're timing it just right. It's like, all right, I'm gonna play chicken. I'm gonna let them see me. Go.
Maybe they're jacking with us.
Yeah. Why are so many people seeing these things crossing the road if they're that smart? There's something to it.
Well, you also think a deer who knows enough to if it smells something or hears something to take off. Why in the hell they run out in the middle of the freaking road all the time?
Exactly.
Now I have to ask you another question, because I've talked to several people in your field about this. What is the correlation with seeing a Bigfoot, having a lot of paranormal activity, and seeing UFOs? Is this a coincidence, or is there some kind of link to it?
There are so many unanswered questions like that. I spent the time at the beginning of our talk telling you how I'm in the biological camp, and then I say that and then I'm reminded of all of these encounters where people are connecting them to UFOs. People are starting to see these orbs. Have you heard about the orbs?
Yes, I've heard that too.
People are seeing these orbs either before or after a Sasquatch sighting, and then some people are going so far as there was a UFO sighting right after that. It can't be coincidence, They have to be. There has to be something to it. I don't know. I'm not smart enough.
I don't know. I've like I said, I'm a layman, so I don't know a whole lot about it. But all these stories that I hear, it makes me wonder: is this some kind of interdimensional thing where they're able to pop in, pop out in a way?
That makes sense. It really does. The portals, that would make a whole lot of sense. If people talk about, I've heard more than one person talk about seeing this big empty snow-covered field with this trackway that just stops in the middle.
Mm.
Where'd they go?
Right. Oh, there's portals for ghosts, so why not for a Bigfoot? I don't know. There's lots of questions that need to be answered, that's for sure. And in a way, I kind of don't want the answers, because I kind of like the the investigating part of it, the whole mystery behind it. But also would like to know, what in the world are we dealing with? Is this, another evolution of us, or is it interdimensional? Is it related to UFOs? What's the deal?
Yeah, my wife has asked me before, what are you going to do if the government comes out tomorrow and says, yes, Sasquatch is real, these things are real, be careful. What are you going to do then? I guess I'll just go to UFOs.
There you go. Well, what's the name of your podcast again?
The podcast is UnsCryptid.
Mm-hmm.
I'll spell it for you. UnsCryptid. So we put the cryptid in there, spelled as cryptid. And we're on all of the major podcatchers, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all that stuff.
And do you have a website?
UnsCryptidPodcast.com.
And how about social media?
Facebook, just launched our Facebook group. Please join if you don't mind. Instagram, follow us there, and also TikTok. We've been hitting this thing hard, trying to get it up and going.
Well, any plans on writing a book or anything?
I'm not talented enough. I don't see myself as a writer. I have been asked to read a couple, and I've done it and put my endorsement on the back. You can find my name on a couple, and actually going to be in a documentary coming up in September on Tubi. I had a production crew come down, spend the day with me. We went out in the woods and shared some of my encounters there. So I'll be there as well. It's supposed to be coming out in September.
Well, let me know when that does come out so I can share it out on our social media and people can go and watch it. But unfortunately, we have run out of time. But I want to thank you for coming on and giving me your time today. I want to encourage people to go and listen to their podcast and also go check out your YouTube. And so until the next one, everyone, I want to say thank you for stopping by. For those of you who are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back and please hit that subscribe button. For those of you who are regular to the channel, thank you for your support. Take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
See you guys.
Poor boy.